everyone, it's Brennan. Welcome to my channel and welcome to another monthly reading wrap up. Today we are talking about all the books that I read in February. I don't know if February started out slowly for me, but it took me like 10 days to finish a book. Nonetheless, I read 6 books in February. And the first book I read was Tessa Bailey's newest release, The Sweetest Fix. This is a 200-page Kindle Unlimited novella. I don't know how many page numbers it takes to be a novella. This is an adult romance that follows our main characters, Reese and Leo. Reese is a 21-year-old dancer who is trying to kind of have her last opportunity at becoming a professional Broadway level dancer. She gets this once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to audition in front of this famous choreographer in New York, but she ends up missing her audition, so she seeks out this choreographer's son to just kind of try to see if he can help her. She's just she's desperate for this last chance, and she's just looking for a little bit of help. And this choreographer's son is a kind of famous, well-known baker in New York City. He has his own bakery. And when Reese finds Leo, they just have, you know, the instant kind of connection that you see in these romance novels. And so she like completely ditches her plan. At first, I thought I was going to be hung up on the reasoning behind their relationship, but Reese just like totally turns around from her initial plot to use him, I guess. So that was turning me off, but then it just went a completely different direction. So it's called The Sweetest Fix because this is a Valentine's Day set book, and Reese kind of gets Leo into this situation where they're bringing customers to his bakery to do like this cake pop Valentine's Day marketing campaign where he has to pick the perfect cake pop flavor for these couples. That's really fun. Leo as a character, he's not moody and broody, but he's just kind of quieter, keeps to himself, just does his, you know, daily bakery routine and just doesn't really look for relationships or things like that. Anyway, I gave this 4 stars. I really enjoyed it. Tessa Bailey's writing, her characters can be so funny. I have a vlog where I read this and I'll link it below. The next book I finished in February was the 4th Zodiac Academy book, Shadow Princess. This is by Caroline Peckham and Suzanne Valenti. This is a new adult fantasy romance series. It's Kindle Unlimited also. And this is set in a fae world. We follow our twins, Tori and Darcy, who are taken out of our mortal world, and they discover that they are actually the princess heiresses to this fae society. So the first book is them just kind of learning about this society, learning about the in and outs of this very ruthless, brutal fae world, because we all know that fae worlds are very ruthless and brutal. But in this world, you have powers based on your zodiac sign. So you have elemental abilities, air, water, earth, and fire, and you also have your fae form, which is like your human-esque form, but you also have your order form. I feel like I've talked about this series so many times, but this 4th book hurt me so bad. This 4th book hurt me so bad that I couldn't give it 5 stars. I had to give it 4 stars. So just know, if you go into this series, just expect to be hurt. Also, this is a bully romance. I say that every time I talk about this. If you don't like bully romances, do not read this series. But if you do like bully romances, or you think you might, give it a try. Highly recommend. It has completely consumed my life so far in 2021. The 3rd book I read is so random and I had not planned on picking it up, but this was No Exit by Taylor Adams. This is a thriller, and I picked it up because it was snowing a lot, and as you can probably tell by the cover, this is a very snowy, blizzardy book. And it's a thriller, so I won't say too much about it, but we follow our main character, Darby, as she is coming home for Christmas break from college, and her trip home is like very stressful because her mom has just found out that she has pancreatic cancer. Hence why Darby is trying to drive in this very blizzardy, they keep saying snowmageddon conditions. Well, she gets stuck. She gets stuck at a rest stop, and just so you know, this is set like between Colorado and Utah is where she's driving. So grade A snowy setting. Anyway, Darby gets stuck at a rest stop, and at this rest stop, she finds a child in a cage in the back of a car, and then the story is her trying to figure out who at the rest stop drives that car, and then trying to save the girl. This was so fast-paced. All of this novel happens in one night, and I really enjoyed it. It's hard for me to find thrillers that I really like. I enjoyed this, didn't love it. I gave it 4 stars. It was a good time. I very compulsively read it. Darby is a very, what's it called? It has a term, unlikely hero. She's a very unlikely hero. She's a 20-ish-year-old art student from UC Boulder, and she has taken it upon herself to rescue this child from a very dangerous situation from some very dangerous people. Just a warning that this has some gory scenes in it, if that's something that throws you off, but I enjoyed it. I was almost not enjoying it because of the ending. I thought it was going to go a different way, but it was saved. I liked it, and I would recommend it if you're looking for thrillers, even though everyone else on BookTube has already recommended it before I have. Anyway, the next book I read in February was Get a Life, Chloe Brown by Talia Hibbert. This is another book that is just very talked about, hyped, I guess I would say, on YouTube. This is another adult romance, and we follow our main character Chloe as she goes on her mission to get a life. She's had a little near-death experience, and she has dealt with fibromyalgia for the last 10 years or so of her life. She's in her early 30s now. So she's dealt with chronic pain, and she feels like she's at a point in her life where she is managing her condition pretty well, and now she's just ready to live her life like she wants. Step 1 on her get a life list is to move out of her parents' house. So she gets an apartment, and her love interest is her superintendent, Red. Red is a grungy kind of guy with a soft heart. He's an artist, and he's dealing with his own personal issues from a really bad relationship that he got out of recently. It touches on the therapy that he starts in this book, and I really enjoyed that aspect of this. Again, I have a reading vlog for this. It was the same vlog that I read Tessa Bailey's book in. And this was just such a good book with a healthy relationship in it. Is it sad to say that I don't read a lot of those books? I feel like the romance I usually read has darker relationships, I guess I would say. Anyway, I gave this 3.5, 4 stars. I enjoyed it, but I didn't like compulsively read it. I was not absorbed in it. I guess that's a qualification for me to give 4 stars or more to a book. But I would recommend it, especially if you've never read adult romance before. I think this would be a really good place to start. The next book I finished in February was the only nonfiction book I read this month. This was The Big Fat Surprise by Nina Teagles. I'm not good at saying names that are hard. This is a nonfiction diet related book. It was actually recommended reading for one of my graduate classes, but I had had this kind of on my radar anyway. If you have an Audible membership, it's in the like Audible Plus catalog. I don't know what they're calling their books that they just have like available to you at any time. But I listened to this on audio, and I really liked this. I gave this 5 stars. This goes into a lot of research from the early to mid 20th century that the USDA and the federal government have based their dietary guidelines on, and it's just like really sad and frustrating and, I don't know, disappointing, I guess, to see the bad research that a lot of our diet regulations are based on. And of course you can probably see on the cover, it's like the whatever it's called that's like part of the title but not really part of the title. It's like why meat, butter, and dairy deserve a place in the diet or something like that. Anyway, I really liked this. Yeah, it made me want to go out and buy some bacon. The last book I read in February was Strange the Dreamer by Laini Taylor. This book, it was so good. Darian from Darian Reads, I'll link her channel below. She was rereading this around the same time I was reading it, and I kept messaging her my feelings as I was reading this. Her birthday was recently, so she's a Pisces, and this book is recommended to Pisces, and I definitely see why.
Why don't you tell us why it's recommended to Pisces?
Well, you see, he's a dreamer. And that's a very Pisces quality.
We need to know why.
Well, let me tell you. This is a young adult fantasy. This follows our main character. You got me tore up.
You got me for it. I need to know.
This is a young adult fantasy that follows our main character, Laszlo Strange. He has a very mysterious childhood, I guess, in that he was an orphan left at a... what's it called? The place where monks live?
Monastery.
Monastery. Thank you. Left at a monastery to be raised by monks, but he escapes that fate when he has to deliver something to a library and just gets swept away in a world of fairy tales, basically. And these fairy tales are about a mysterious city that a lot of people don't believe ever existed. And that city is called Weep, but it's called Weep because the name of it was stolen. You can probably tell this book has lots of great magic. It's so heartwarming. So Laszlo spends a lot of his young adulthood studying fairy tales from this city. He's working as a librarian, but all of his free time is spent in fairy tales. I like tabbed a couple things in here, and he calls himself a scholar of fairy tales, and it just pulls at my heart. Laszlo gets an opportunity to have an adventure to this imaginary city when a convoy from Weep comes needing help. And this is his story. I don't want to say too much because this book was just so much fun. We have a couple different perspectives. I don't really even want to say who they're from, but you just learn so much about this wonderful, magical world. I had a great time reading this. I gave this 5 stars. I don't know if I said that. I loved this. This is probably like a new favorite for me. It was just so, how many times can I say heartwarming, also heartbreaking though, so like, be careful. Those were the 6 books that I read in February. I hope that was a coherent review of some of them. Let me know down below if you've read any of these. Let me know your thoughts on them. Let me know if you're interested in any of them. Give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Subscribe if you have not already, and I will see you in my next one.